The courtroom door slammed shut behind me like a final judgment. And there I was, Alex Thompson, staring at the adoption papers that would change everything. My hands trembled as I signed my name, the ink bleeding slightly on the page, but it wasn't the legal weight that crushed me. It was the man standing silently beside me, Jamie Reyes, the one I'd sworn was just a temporary fix to my crumbling life. How had we gotten here, from secret nights in dingy motels to this sterile room where I was about to become a father? And he, against all odds, refused to leave. I remember the day it started, clear as a nightmare that won't fade. I was 28, buried under the expectations of my conservative family in suburban Chicago, where being the perfect son meant marrying well and producing heirs for the Thompson legacy. My father, a stern banker who'd never missed a Sunday service, had arranged a blind date with Emily, the daughter of his business partner. Pretty, poised, everything a straight man could want. But I wasn't straight, and the secret I'd buried deep inside was clawing its way out. That night, after forcing a smile through dinner, I escaped to a gay bar downtown, desperate for air, for something real. Jamie was behind the counter, mixing drinks with a quiet intensity, his dark eyes catching mine like they knew my story before I spoke. "Rough night?" he asked, sliding me a whiskey neat without asking. I nodded, and before I knew it, we were really talking about the suffocating weight of pretending. He was 26, out and proud in a way that terrified me, but he understood the shadows I lived in. "Sometimes you need a cover," he said later that night in his cramped apartment above the bar. "No strings, just something to get you through." It sounded perfect. A fake relationship to throw my family off, to buy time while I figured out how to come clean. We agreed it was temporary, 3 months tops, enough to make my parents back off about Emily without raising suspicions. But as we lay there in the dark, his breath steady against my shoulder, I felt a pull I hadn't anticipated. What if this wasn't just pretend? The thought gnawed at me, but I pushed it down. I couldn't afford complications. My job at the family firm depended on keeping up appearances. Days blurred into weeks. We'd meet after work, staging photos for social media, hand-holding in parks, dinners out to sell the story. But the lines blurred fast. One evening, as we walked along Lake Michigan, the wind whipping around us, Jamie stopped and turned to me. "This feels real, Alex, doesn't it?" His voice was low, vulnerable, and my heart raced. I wanted to say yes, but the image of my father's disapproving glare flashed in my mind. "It's just the act," I lied, pulling away. Inside, doubt festered. Was I using him? Was this fair to either of us? The guilt twisted like a knife, especially when Jamie looked at me with eyes full of unspoken hope. Then came the first crack. My sister, Sarah, cornered me at a family barbecue. "Who's this Jamie guy? Dad's asking questions." I stammered something about a friend, but she saw through it. "Be careful, Alex. You know how they are." That night, I confessed to Jamie about the pressure, how my parents' church friends whispered about those people. He listened, his face hardening. "You think I'm ashamed? I'm not the one hiding." His words stung, forcing me to confront the cowardice I'd wrapped around myself like armor. Why couldn't I stand up? The internal battle raged. Loyalty to family versus the truth of who I was. Jamie suggested we end it then, but I begged for more time. "Just a little longer," I said, hating myself for the plea. As the weeks dragged on, the pretense deepened our bond. We'd argue about nothing, then make up in ways that felt too genuine. One night, after a heated fight about my reluctance to introduce him properly, Jamie slammed the door and left. I sat alone in my apartment, the silence deafening. What have I done? I thought. He's right. I'm trapping us both in this lie. But the fear of losing everything, my job, my family, paralyzed me. I chased after him, finding him on a bench overlooking the city. "I can't let you go," I admitted, the words tearing out of me. He looked up, eyes wet. "Then stop pretending, Alex." We kissed under the streetlights, and for a moment, the world felt right. But deep down, I knew the storm was coming. The turning point hit like a freight train. Emily showed up at my office, tears streaming.
I'm pregnant, Alex.
From that night after our date, the room spun. We'd slept together once, a drunken mistake to convince myself I could be normal. Now, she wanted to keep the baby, but not with me. She was engaged to someone else. I can't raise it alone, she said. But you could adopt it. Give it a good life. My mind reeled. A child? Me a father? The irony burned. Here I was, hiding my sexuality, and now fate was thrusting parenthood at me. I told Jamie that evening, expecting him to bolt. Instead, he sat quietly, then said, "If you do this, I'm with you. But no more hiding." His support cracked something inside me, but so did the terror. How could I raise a child in a world that might reject us? The conflict tore at my soul. Was this a sign to come out, or a trap to stay hidden? Family dinner that weekend was hell. I mentioned the adoption vaguely, and my father exploded. A child out of wedlock? What will people say? I didn't mention Emily's name, but the shame in his voice echoed my own fears. Inside, I screamed, "What about what I want?" But I stayed silent, the weight of generations pressing down. Jamie waited outside in the car, his presence a lifeline and a reminder of the choice looming. As I drove home with him, the city lights blurring through tears, I wondered if I could really do this, become a father with him by my side, or lose it all trying. The temporary arrangement had become my everything, and the price was just beginning to reveal itself. The adoption process dragged on like a slow bleed, each meeting with lawyers and social workers peeling back layers of my carefully constructed facade. Jamie was there for every step, his hands steady on my back, but his eyes held questions I couldn't answer. "Are you sure about this, Alex?" He'd whisper after sessions, and I'd nod, though inside, the doubt screamed louder than ever. Was I dragging him into my mess, or was he the only thing keeping me sane? Emily's pregnancy advanced, and with it, my panic. We met in neutral coffee shops, discussing details like strangers negotiating a deal. "The baby's yours if you want," she said one afternoon, her belly rounding under her sweater. "But I need to know you're committed." Committed to what? To fatherhood, or to the lie that I could handle it alone? Jamie insisted on coming to one meeting, introducing himself as my partner. Emily's eyes widened, but she smiled politely. Later, alone, Jamie confronted me. "Why didn't you tell her about us from the start? Are you ashamed?" The accusation hit hard, stirring the storm inside. "No, I thought I'm terrified. Terrified of judgment, of losing the child before it was even born." My mind raced with scenarios. What if the courts found out? What if my family disowned me? The moral tangle tightened. Was adopting this baby a selfless act, or a selfish grab at normalcy? Back home, the arguments escalated. Jamie wanted transparency. I craved caution. "We can't just announce it," I snapped one night over dinner. "My parents would cut me off." He slammed his fork down. "And what about us? Am I just your secret forever?" His voice cracked, revealing the hurt I'd inflicted. In that moment, I saw the damage. My indecision was betraying him, chipping away at the trust we'd built. Why can't I choose? I agonized internally. The family legacy versus my heart. One had to give. That night, as he slept fitfully beside me, I lay awake, the weight of impending fatherhood pressing like a vice. This child deserved better than a father in hiding. The first betrayal came from within my family. Sarah, my supposed ally, let slip to our parents about Jamie. "I saw you two together," she said over the phone, her tone laced with concern. "Dad's furious." The call from my father followed like clockwork. "Is it true? You're with a man?" His disgust dripped through the line, echoing the sermons I'd heard growing up about sin and salvation. I denied it at first, the words tasting like ash, but he pressed, "If this is who you are, don't bring that child into it." The ultimatum shattered me. Hang up and lose my family, or deny Jamie and lose myself? The internal war raged hotter. Was blood thicker than love, or had I been fooling myself all along? I chose silence, hanging up, but the damage was done. Jamie overheard, his face paling. You didn't defend us. The accusation hung heavy, a wedge driving us apart. We barely spoke for days, the apartment thick with tension. I threw myself into work, avoiding the mirror where my reflection accused me of cowardice. But the baby scans Emily sent pulled me back. Tiny fingers, a beating heart. This innocent life depended on me, yet I was unraveling. One evening, Jamie packed a bag. I can't do temporary anymore, Alex. Call me when you're ready to fight for this. Watching him leave, the door clicking shut, broke something irreparable. Alone, the thoughts flooded. How had I let fear win? The moral dilemma clawed deeper. Was staying closeted protecting the child, or dooming us all to a life of lies? I collapsed on the couch, sobs racking my body. The price of my indecision crystal clear. Reconciliation came unexpectedly. I showed up at the bar where Jamie worked, rain-soaked and desperate. I need you, I admitted in front of his co-workers, the words tumbling out. He pulled me aside, eyes searching mine. Prove it. Tell your family. The challenge ignited a fire. That weekend, I drove to my parents' house, heart pounding. I'm gay, I said at the dinner table, voice steady despite the tremor inside. And Jamie's my partner. We're adopting the baby together. The silence was deafening, then chaos. My father's red face, my mother's tears. You're no son of mine, he spat, the words slicing deep. Walking out, I felt liberated and lost, the sacrifice raw. Had I done right? The doubt lingered, but Jamie's waiting arms made it bearable. As Emily's due date neared, societal pressures mounted. Whispers at work, judgmental stares from old friends. Chicago's conservative underbelly reared up. One colleague cornered me. A gay couple raising a kid? That's not natural. The words echoed my own buried fears, fueling nights of insomnia. Was I selfish, bringing a child into this hostility? Jamie sensed it, pulling me close. We're stronger together, he said, but his voice held strain. The internal conflicts intertwined. His patience versus my guilt, our love versus the world's hate. Every decision felt like a gamble, the stakes our future family. The birth changed everything. Emily called in the middle of the night. We rushed to the hospital. Holding the baby boy, our son, Lucas, for the first time, tears blurred my vision. Jamie stood beside me, his hand on my shoulder, a silent vow. But as we signed the papers, my father's voice haunted me. Was this victory, or the start of endless battles? The emotional toll weighed heavier, the choices we'd made etching scars that time might never heal. Lucas's cries filled our small apartment like a siren, pulling me from shallow sleep night after night. Jamie and I took turns rocking him, but the exhaustion paled against the joy and the fear. He's perfect, Jamie murmured one dawn, cradling our son, but his eyes held shadows I recognized. The weight of what we'd sacrificed, the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Inside, I wrestled with the aftermath. Had coming out been worth the rift, or had I doomed us to isolation? Family fallout hit harder than expected. My parents cut off contact, no calls, no visits. Sarah tried bridging the gap, sneaking over with baby gifts, but her whispers of give them time rang hollow. They think we're sinners, I confided to Jamie, the bitterness rising. He nodded, but I saw the toll on him. His own family, more accepting, now questioned our choices. My mom asked if we're ready for the hate, he admitted. The confession stirred my guilt. Was I the anchor dragging him down? The moral quandary deepened. Parenthood demanded stability, yet our love invited chaos. Every coup from Lucas amplified the stakes, forcing me to question if love alone was enough. Societal backlash crept in subtly at first. Neighbors' sidelong glances turned to outright snubs. One even petitioned the building manager about family values. At the park, mothers pulled their kids away when Jamie and I held hands. Ignore them, Jamie said, but his grip tightened, betraying the hurt. Inside, rage boiled. Why must we pay for being true? The internal storm intensified, memories of my father's rejection fueling self-doubt. Was adopting Lucas a heroic act, or a reckless one in a world stacked against us? Jamie's optimism clashed with my pessimism, sparking fights that left us raw. "You're letting them win," he'd accuse, and I'd retreat, the silence a chasm. Then came the ultimate test, a custody challenge. Emily's fiancé, regretting his distance, filed to contest the adoption, claiming biological rights. "He says two men can't provide a proper home," our lawyer explained, the words a gut punch. Panic surged. "Lose Lucas? Unthinkable." Jamie exploded. "We'll fight this." But as we pored over documents late into the night, doubt crept in. What if the judge agreed? The ethical maze twisted. Was biology trump love, or had we overreached? My mind raced with regrets. That drunken night with Emily, the temporary pact with Jamie now permanent. "This is my fault," I whispered to him. He pulled me close. "No, it's ours to fix." His strength bolstered me, but the fear lingered, a constant whisper of failure. Court dates loomed, each one a battlefield. We hired experts, gathered character witnesses, but the opposition painted us as unstable. "A same-sex couple in a rushed relationship," their lawyer sneered. Hearing it aloud cracked my resolve. Was our love rushed, born of necessity? Jamie sensed my wavering, confronting me after one hearing. "If you doubt us, say it now." Tears stung as I admitted the truth. "I'm scared we'll lose everything." The vulnerability bonded us, but the price, sleepless nights, mounting bills, etched deeper wounds. Internally, I battled. Sacrifice more or surrender? The choice haunted, every decision a potential betrayal. Amid the turmoil, moments of grace emerged. Lucas's first smile, directed at Jamie, melted the ice. "He's ours," Jamie said, voice thick with emotion. It reignited my fight, pushing me to reach out to my parents one last time. A letter, pouring out my heart. "This is who I am. Accept us or lose your grandson." No response came, the silence a fresh cut. Why won't they bend? I agonized. The rejection fueled a darker introspection. Had my upbringing poisoned me against happiness? Jamie's support wavered under the strain. He confessed doubts too. What if we're not enough? The shared vulnerability deepened our bond, but the emotional layers peeled back revealed fractures. The hearing climaxed in tension. Witnesses testified, friends lauding our commitment, opponents decrying our lifestyle. As I took the stand, heart hammering, I spoke from the soul. Love makes a family, not labels. Jamie's proud gaze steadied me, but inside, turmoil raged. Was this conviction real or desperation? The judge recessed, leaving us in limbo. That night, holding Lucas, Jamie, and I clung to each other. "No matter what, we're in this," he vowed. But the uncertainty gnawed, the costs mounting, friendships strained, careers on edge. Had our choices been right, or were we paying for hubris? Resolution came unexpectedly. Emily's fiancé withdrew, admitting defeat. Victory washed over us, but it was bittersweet. "We won," Jamie said, hugging me tight. Yet the scars remained, the battles etching permanent marks. As we brought Lucas home for good, the weight of what we'd endured pressed heavier. Society's acceptance felt fragile, family ties severed. Internally, questions swirled. Was the pain worth the prize, or had we invited endless struggle? The emotional depth of our journey left me changed, forever questioning the line between right and wrong. With Lucas officially ours, the initial euphoria faded into a grinding reality of parenthood under scrutiny. Sleepless nights morphed into days filled with pediatric visits and judgmental stares, each one a reminder of the world we'd defied. Jamie's optimism cracked first. "How long can we keep fighting?" he muttered after a particularly harsh encounter at daycare, where a parent questioned our fitness. Inside, my own resolve frayed. Had winning custody been a Pyrrhic victory, trading peace for perpetual war? The doubt burrowed deeper, poisoning quiet moments. Family voids echoed loudest during holidays. Thanksgiving arrived without invitation from my parents. The empty table a stark accusation. Sarah called, voice strained. "They're hurting too, Alex." But her words ignited fury. Hurting? We'd been cast out. Jamie suggested reaching out again, but I refused, the betrayal too raw. They chose hate, I snapped. He backed off, but I saw the weariness in his eyes. Our arguments turned vicious, old wounds reopening. You dragged me into this, he'd say, and I'd retort, you swore you'd stay. The internal accusations multiplied. Was I blaming him for my choices, or had love blinded us to the cost? Moral ambiguities haunted. Parenthood demanded sacrifice, but at what point did it become self-destruction? Societal pressures escalated, turning whispers to shouts. A local news story spotlighted non-traditional families, painting us as controversial. Anonymous letters arrived. Think of the child. Jamie shredded them, but the fear took root. What if they try to take him? He confessed one night, holding Lucas close. The vulnerability shattered me. I'd promised stability, yet delivered chaos. My mind spiraled. Was hiding our truth earlier wiser? Or had authenticity been the only path? The ethical tangle tightened, each decision a potential regret. Work suffered. Clients pulled away, citing personal issues. The financial strain added fuel, arguments exploding over bills. We can't afford this life, Jamie yelled. Inside, guilt consumed. My past mistakes had led here, burdening us all. The breaking point came during a routine checkup. The doctor, an old family friend, pulled me aside. Your parents are worried. They think this environment isn't healthy. The interference ignited rage, but also despair. Driving home, tears blurred the road. Why can't they let us be? The question looped endlessly. Jamie waited, sensing the storm. Talk to me, he pleaded. I unloaded everything. The doubts, the fears, the crushing weight of fatherhood in hiding no more. I feel like I'm failing you both, I admitted, voice breaking. He held me, but his embrace felt tentative, the cracks in our foundation widening. The emotional layers deepened, revealing how love could both heal and harm. Reconciliation attempts faltered. I wrote to my parents again, begging for understanding. Lucas needs grandparents. Weeks passed in silence, then a terse reply, not like this. The rejection hit like a fresh wound, stirring darker thoughts. Had I chosen wrong, prioritizing Jamie over blood? The moral debate raged internally. Family loyalty versus self-truth. Which was the greater sin? Jamie's patience thinned. He suggested therapy. We need help, Alex. Reluctantly, I agreed. Sessions uncovering buried traumas, childhood sermons on damnation, the pressure to conform. You're not broken, the therapist said, but believing it felt impossible. Jamie shared his own scars. Growing up out, facing bullying, now reliving it through us. The shared pain bonded, but the toll mounted, exhaustion etching lines on our faces. A glimmer of hope emerged unexpectedly. At a support group for LGBTQ parents, we met others, stories of triumph amid struggle. One couple shared their reconciliation tale, inspiring me. Maybe time heals, Jamie mused, but doubt lingered. Our wounds ran deep. Lucas's first steps became a milestone marred by absence. No grandparents cheered. Filming it, tears fell, joy tainted by loss. Internally, the conflict peaked. Was this the life we deserved, or a punishment for defiance? Jamie's quiet resolve wavered. Late nights, he'd stare out windows, lost in thought. I love you, he'd say, but the words carried unspoken buts. The emotional intensity built, every moment a test of endurance. The ultimate confrontation loomed when my father showed up unannounced. I want to see my grandson, he demanded at the door. Shock froze me. Jamie tensed beside. Only if you accept us, I countered, voice steel despite the tremor. He hesitated, eyes flicking to Jamie. This lifestyle, it's wrong. The words reopened every scar, fury surging. Then leave. He did, the door slamming a finality. Collapsing into Jamie's arms, sobs racked me. Had I slammed the door on healing, or protected our family? The question tormented, the prices paid stacking higher. As Lucas babbled innocently, the weight of our choices crushed heavier, the drama of our lives far from resolved. Years blurred in the relentless rhythm of parenthood, Lucas growing from toddler to kindergartner amid the shadows of our battles. Jamie and I clung together, but the strains had evolved into quiet resentments, each day a negotiation between love and exhaustion. "We made it this far," he'd say with a forced smile, but his eyes betrayed the cost. The lost friends, the guarded interactions, the perpetual defense. Inside, my soul ached with the ultimate question. Had our temporary pact blossomed into enduring love, or morphed into a prison of our own making? The final rift with my family crystallized during Lucas's 5th birthday. Sarah arrived alone, bearing gifts, but whispered, "Mom wants to come, but Dad." The incomplete sentence hung like a noose. "Then don't," I snapped, the bitterness overflowing. Jamie pulled me aside. "Give them a chance." But the hurt ran too deep, years of silence, of judgment. "Why now?" I agonized. Was it genuine or pity? The moral crossroads loomed larger. Forgiveness versus protection. Which served Lucas best? That night, as party remnants littered the floor, Jamie and I argued fiercely. "You're holding on to anger," he accused. "And you're too forgiving," I retorted. The words cut deep, exposing how our traumas had diverged, threatening to pull us apart. Societal acceptance inched forward, but setbacks stung. Lucas came home from school tearful. "Why do I have two dads?" A classmate's taunt, echoing the world's cruelty. Explaining it shattered me. How to convey love amid hate. Jamie handled it better, spinning tales of diverse families. But later, alone, he broke down. "I didn't sign up for this pain." His confession pierced. Had I forced this on him? The internal torment peaked. My choices had ripple effects, damaging those I loved most. Ethical doubts flooded. Was raising Lucas in authenticity brave or burdensome? The weight pressed relentlessly, every parental decision laced with fear. Betrayal struck from an unexpected quarter. Jamie's promotion required relocation to New York, more accepting, better opportunities. "It's for us," he urged. But uprooting meant leaving the fragile ties to my family, the city of our struggles. "You're running," I accused. He fired back, "And you're stuck in the past." The fight escalated, words weaponized from years of pent-up emotion. "Maybe this was always temporary," he hurled, echoing our beginning. The pain was visceral, tearing at my core. Had love faltered under pressure? Lying awake, thoughts swirled. Sacrifice the familiar for hope, or cling to the known misery? The dilemma clawed, revealing the fragility of our bond. Reconciliation demanded raw honesty. We sat across the table, Lucas asleep upstairs. "I love you, but this hurts," Jamie admitted, tears falling. I mirrored him. "Me too. The world's beaten us down." Pouring out fears, the isolation, the judgments, the endless fight, forged a deeper connection. "We choose each other again," he said, hand in mine. But the decision loomed. Move or stay. Opting for New York felt like betrayal to my roots. Yet staying meant stagnation. Internally, the war raged. Loyalty to past versus future, which was the righteous path? The emotional crescendo built, every tear a testament to our endurance. The move transformed us. New York offered anonymity and community. Pride parades, supportive schools. Lucas thrived, his questions turning to curiosity. Yet echoes remained. A call from my mother, tentative. "We miss him." I invited her, heart pounding. She came alone, holding Lucas with hesitant joy. "I'm trying," she whispered. No full acceptance, but a crack in the wall. Jamie watched warily, his support unwavering. "Progress," he said later. But inside, ambivalence stirred. Was partial reconciliation enough? Or a compromise of principles? The costs tallied. Lost years, scarred hearts. But so did the gains. A family forged in fire. As Lucas grew, our story became his inheritance. A tale of love's tenacity amid adversity. Jamie stood beside me at school events, our hands linked defiantly. Yet the scars lingered, reminders of choices made. In quiet moments, doubt whispered, had we done right by him, exposing him to the world's harshness? The emotional depth overwhelmed, a tapestry of pain and triumph. In the end, as I watched Jamie tuck Lucas in, the man who'd sworn temporary now eternal, I pondered the journey's worth. Was forcing change through defiance the moral high ground, or would conformity have spared the agony? What do you think, was our path the right one, or a series of avoidable mistakes?